Adam.
So
Hi, how are you?
I'm having a Friday. How about that?
Oh, well, at least it's the end of the week.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
hope that I hope that you can relax on the weekends.
I have two small kids. There's no such thing as
Oh,
relaxation
there's
anymore.
how old are they?
4 years old and 9 months old.
Oh, okay,
So
they're very, very little. There's no relaxing really.
no, we have our hands full.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Where are you located right now?
I'm in San Diego.
Oh, lovely. Well, at least you have good weather. That's
You say that it actually is quite nice, but it has been raining harder than
really.
I've seen in my entire life living here.
Oh,
So
wow. Well,
We've had we've had a very, very, very wet winter.
oh
And
gosh.
and
Well,
and us
hopefully.
and us San Diegans are over it.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine. It's really messing with the sunshine state.
our vibe, our our
Yeah,
our,
I
our
can
go-to.
imagine. I can
Yeah.
imagine. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. I have been looking forward to this interview all week. I'm so excited to learn more about you and everything that you have been working with. Yeah, thank you for accepting this interview by Machine Labs.
My pleasure. My
Great.
pleasure.
Well, you are a seasoned entrepreneur. You co-founded Cloudbeds in 2012. And correct me if I'm wrong, you co-founded it after you kind of got inspired by the idea when traveling in Brazil, right?
Yes, so my co-founder actually was the one traveling in Brazil. And
Okay.
and so he had that experience, but
Okay.
we both have been all over this amazing world and a lot of travel experiences and had similar sort of adventures that ultimately transpired. But Rich's napkin, back of the napkin idea and
Yeah.
experience was, he was trying to book a reservation with his at the time girlfriend, who's now his wife, in a beach community north of Rio in Brazil. And the way you booked a reservation then was you picked up the phone, you spoke Portuguese or broken
Yeah.
Portuguese, and you tried to negotiate for a room, and no one ever answered the phone. No one responded to emails. There wasn't a website that you could just go to with all these hotels and just pick and point and choose, and like
Mhm.
Airbnb or Booking.com would provide. And so eventually this man answered the phone and said, "Hey, yeah, no, we have a reservation in broken English. If you deposit my money in my bank account and I'll send you an email with my wire instructions, your reservation will be secured." And Richard's like, calls me and he goes, "This is insane. I have to literally wire money to this human I've never met who quote unquote claims to own a hotel. For all I know,
Yeah.
I got the wrong number." But he did it anyway and he had a great experience. So that was one of the originating ideas of what we had to solve for, making the world a little more accessible to these
Yeah.
unbelievable properties that are all over the world. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it worked out for him and he wasn't scammed because that's the
Yep.
first thing I would have thought of.
Oh, 100%. I was like, you did what? Like, that's
Yeah, I would
crazy.
not. As soon as anyone would say, here's where you can wire me, that's where I go the other way.
Correct.
Especially where you don't speak the language, you don't know. You're always scared that you're gonna rip off Americans but
I, uh,
I'm
I,
glad it worked out.
I am too. We never know where that could have, Rich could have gone into a cave and, and,
Yeah.
and I would have gotten a ransom note. But, no, look, I mean, I think the interesting thing is a lot of properties around the world still struggle to create identity on the
Yeah.
web. And that's one of the areas that Cloudbeds has really done to differentiate
Mhm.
ourselves. But more importantly, I think that stems from the lack of democratization of technology. There isn't this sort of
Yeah,
trickle down experience of good technology
definitely.
to independence. And those independent hotels are, to be honest with you, my favorite type of place
Yeah.
to stay. It's
Yeah,
that
definitely.
experience led travel. And so we said, well, let's go work with them. Let's build the best
Definitely.
product possible and then work our way back up to the top.
Especially in those, more remote areas. I'm from Latin America, so I'm very well aware of these kind of small independent hotels that are literally in the middle of nowhere. that don't really have access to kind of getting their word out. And they really are the best experiences because you really do get a better sense of, the local community and how people actually live. And they're great people to talk to as well. So can you tell me a little bit more about how Cloudbeds really differentiates itself within the market?
So I think there's a couple things. One is we are the category leader in creating, on a very simplistic way of describing it, would be like an all-in-one. The way I like to describe it is we have a box and we threw a bunch of really exciting technology in that box and we can slide it across the table, and in that box, it's everything that you need to run your business for a hotel.
Yeah.
And so the idea of empowering a host or a hotelier to do less pounding on keys and looking eye to eye with their guests and focusing on experience-led hospitality accommodation is a real mind shift. And because we're so bogged down by technology in this industry,
Yeah.
and we have been for many years. So Cloudbeds basically said, username and password, one. How do we give that to a property owner and their staff in a way that all the different necessary tools in back office processes and front office processes are aligned in a common user experience? So it's really easy to use, it's really easy to train, and it's really easy to get up and running quickly. But more importantly, it's incredibly powerful what the whole collective brings. And so we really do that. We bring this product that does everything that these hoteliers need to run their business. And we do it in a way that we can outpower a Marriott. So like we can literally outperform a Marriott or an Accor or a Wyndham or all the biggest brands in the world through a very, very easy to comprehend solution. And that means we do the fundamentals. So the way you check someone in, the way you check someone out, the way you get feedback, the way you communicate on site, all can be through a new digital experience. The way you think about selling rooms around the world. You said you're from Latin America. Well, your buying behaviors might be different than an American or a European or an Asian. The way you shop, what cards you use, the way you purchase. So trying to take an independent property that might be in Bujos or in Tulum, Mexico, and make them global has to get them outside of their sort of blinders for what is normal or usual. And so like we have access to every major OTA in the world, direct connections. They're our partners. We sit on every major board of all these travel organizations. And I have team members that are influencing not only Booking.com and Airbnb and others roadmap. We're also having great two-way conversations on how we can enrich the experience as well. So like we're at the forefront. I when we first started the company, I often said we need to get a seat at the table, right? And that was like a milestone. Now we have a seat at the table, and now we have to like change the direction where the industry goes. Right. So like we're known, we're heard. Now it's influence, and now it's driving this industry forward. And that's a really fun sort of transition that's taken place. But the website sort of shows a lot, and it's a lot to comprehend. But in reality, it's really, really simple behind the scenes. But yet that power the power is unique. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
It's incredible.
The biggest brands, and it definitely doesn't exist anywhere else besides us for the independent or the small.
It's incredible how much you guys have achieved. I mean, going from a back of the napkin idea, how do you, I mean, there's all this talk about, entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur, but how exactly do you transfer a great idea like this into a successful story that you guys have been able to produce?
So a couple things. And we probably could talk just about this for hours.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think Rich and my philosophy, Rich is my co-founder, and he and I have been partners in crime for over 15 years. So as we think about what we build at Cloudbeds, when you first set out on the entrepreneurial journey, you oftentimes conflate two things. One, it's like the problem you're solving and how big the market is, and then the milestone of liquidity or exit, right? The entrepreneurial dream of being a Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, right? They're
Yeah.
put on a podium and a pedestal, and you sort of look at them as like, wow, this
Yeah.
was an extreme outcome. And that's really what it was. It was a very, very extreme outcome. I don't know why I know this fun fact, but someone told me this at one point. There's less than, 11,000 people in the world that have sold a business or earned more than $100 million as a business outcome. Okay. It's a really, really,
Wow.
really, really, really tiny population, even
Yeah.
billion, it's a couple hundred, like 400
Yeah.
million, right? So like Rich and I don't believe that's going to be us. Okay. That
Yeah.
we didn't set out to be that. We knew the statistics. What we set out to do was surround ourselves with an amazing population of employees, just
Mm.
awesome humans that we were aligned with in values and in vision. Put them on this purpose. And that purpose was to solve this pain point in travel, because
Yeah.
we're all travelers. We love to travel. Like I've never had the perfect experience traveling. It's
Yeah. No,
always been
no,
broken
you never
somewhere.
can.
That's right. It's always broken somewhere. And so it's like if we could help these hotels all over the world find guests like you and I that are
Mm.
looking for that experience, we're doing our part for what I think is an awesome human experience, which is to travel, to taste food, to meet
Definitely.
culture. And like, there's nothing better to change you for the good and for the bad, and even ugly a little bit. But that being said, if we could surround the team with that purpose, it
Mm.
meant that they were going to wake up every day feeling
Yeah.
purpose driven, and they're going to build awesome product for a customer
Yeah.
base because they understand the need. And then if our customer base is excited and happy, that's going to take care of the business. And it was a really easy sort of ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely.
There are great days and there are bad days of
Yeah, of
entrepreneurship.
course.
I mean, that's just it. The sort of abstract definition of being a founder is to sink or
Mm.
swim. I didn't know that, but that's one of the definitions. To sink or
Yeah.
swim. That's us founders. That's what we do every day. We tread
Yeah.
water and we try to get our heads above the water and see some success, and then you build on that. But Cloudbeds is now part of a ripple effect in a greater lodging industry that is going to see 1 billion people stay in a hotel for the first time in the next 10 years. And we are
Wow.
influencing the new generation of stay. We're introducing the new generation of property because we're supporting them. That to me is so much better than any
Yeah.
financial success, because I could say that we were part of that. We were a
Yeah.
voice. We were tech that drove this thing forward. And I look at Elon Musk and what he did for electric vehicles. The first
Yeah.
electric vehicle was built in 1908, right? He did not invent electric
Yeah.
vehicles, but he pioneered purpose around them and then reach. And now everything is about electric vehicles. And so it
Yeah.
always takes something to be that spark. And I feel like we're part of that spark in the industry. And I think that's more fun than anything else.
That's great how you put it. I think that, that's what being a successful entrepreneur is having the passion for something and having the love for something. And, making money from it is great, but you have to feel fulfilled at the end of the day. And, of course, not every single day is going to be, sunshine, and sometimes it's going to be gloomy and a lot of rain, but it's having that perspective of kind of enjoying what you're doing and knowing what your end result or what you want to influence, what you want to gain. Cloudbeds has had so much success in the past, over 10 years, through multiple financial rounds and acquisitions. But how do you see, what do you envision your future to be now with Cloudbeds?
So capital raising, it's funny. We often like glorify the status of becoming a unicorn, which is a fictitious creature,
Yeah.
or like the amount of capital that you've raised. And to me, the capital is about what we've accomplished. It's a testament to what we've accomplished. It is financial engineering. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is we have hit milestones. The company has unit economics that meet thresholds for capital or investors to be interested in what we're ultimately building, right?
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. It's just very straightforward. Rich and I are good storytellers, right? But we've got
Yeah.
a great team of storytellers that are building a product that is
Yeah.
the actual story. It's not Rich or I. We're a part of a community of people that are driving this forward.
Yeah.
And so we've had great partners along the way, great investors who believe in that story and the team. And humbling. It's one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had. To say that we've raised $250 million from top venture and growth equity funds is incredibly rare, and I
Yeah,
sometimes pinch myself about that. But it also comes with great sort of supervision as well as accountability. It now means
yeah,
that I have to go put it to work, and I have to get output from it. And so our vision has always been like, we're in the early innings, to use a baseball analogy. The baseball season started in the US yesterday. So
hmm,
like we're in the first or second industry of the game. We have 13% of door locks as an industry that are digital, which means you got to go physical, get a key. A lot of times when you're checking into a hotel, I can't use your phone to check you
yeah,
in, unfortunately. So there's this massive overhaul of requirements in their industry that we are trying to influence, but we won't influence all of it. But what we're going to use this capital to do is to try to be a little different, right? To think
yeah,
different, to push the envelope a little bit and challenge hoteliers to be better. And not in the way of like building a better linen experience in a bed, but like to actually listen to the audience that is shifting so fast in terms of who the stay is going to
yeah,
look like in the future. And as a result of that, to rethink the status quo. Like our industry has
mm.
blinders on. And I've said this a million times, and I might be too vocal in some scenarios, but we just have to stop doing it the way we used to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
And that's
totally.
the first step. And everyone has to sort of get on board. And the thing that frustrated me the most with COVID was
Mm.
not COVID, because that really frustrated me.
Yeah,
I think
of
we all
course.
lost 2 years of our life, but hospitality had this opportunity to digitalize the guest experience because we had to
Yeah,
go contactless due to a disease.
yeah,
Instead, we got plexiglass at the front desk.
yeah, yeah.
That was our answer. Or six feet of separation in an elevator, taking turns. I mean, like, think about how on earth does a New York hotel that
Yeah, no,
requires elevators that are
literally.
really tiny, like do 6 feet of separation? It means you're queuing, and like so
Yeah,
like
no,
there's
no.
parts of things that are just like you can't avoid, and
Yeah,
then there's part of it that you can be innovative around and you can digitalize. And so like I'm super excited about the next 5 years.
yeah,
I'm excited about who the traveler is going to be.
yeah,
I'm excited about changing wealth that's happening from boomers to millennials. I'm excited about the new types of properties that I'm seeing, from capsule
yeah,
to modular to eco forward tourism. Like
yeah,
that is good for this world. And
yeah,
it's good that 1 billion people are going to stay in a hotel for a first time. That is going to challenge the system. And so I'm
yeah.
just happy that we're going to be part of that solution.
That's wonderful. And as you say, you have a great team behind you, and you really can conquer anything with a huge team behind you. I would love to know a little bit more about kind of the obstacles that you've been faced with in the last 10 years and how you've overcome them.
So Rich and I are yin and yang in this
Okay,
organization. Like we are,
that's a good match.
we are at each other at times, and we are with each other at others. And I couldn't have done it without him. I mean, like
Oh,
and
good.
it's vice versa. I mean, like we truly are lockstep, and it's been a journey, and it's so fun to see what we've accomplished. I think sometimes we laugh and we're like, I can't believe we're even here. Um,
It's amazing.
Obstacles have been like almost running out of money, right?
Yeah,
To
yeah,
the ebb and flow of an economy going to nothing, right? With
yeah,
the pandemic, where hoteliers need people to be able to travel and the world shut down.
yeah.
That was scary. We saw 35% of our revenue disappear in a matter of weeks. That
Mm.
was really, really scary.
Yeah, that's yeah.
We've had, great people come and go. We've had bad
Mm.
people come and go. We've made hiring mistakes. We've made great hiring, right? So
Yeah,
like the obstacles are walls,
yeah,
and entrepreneurs are always given the tools to break through that wall. It's just
mm.
whether or not you have the perseverance and the grit
Yeah,
to run through them, or figure out how to avoid them, or even overcome them, to your point. Um, I think it's just knowing and trusting instinct,
yeah,
gut, having someone to talk with, like my
yeah,
co-founder and I, bouncing
definitely.
ideas, having good moral support around us with friends and family and a team that truly genuinely cares about us because they know we generally care about them.
Mm.
And having that community want to win. Like we want to
Yeah.
win for the purpose. We don't
Yeah.
want to win for the financial success.
Yeah.
We want to win because we believe in what we're doing. And I think that's unstoppable. So
That
so
really is.
I think the scariest moments were running out of money and Rich and I skipping payroll twice. So that happened twice to
Okay.
us. And so we paid everyone else on the team except for ourselves. And then we
Wow.
were able to get capital in the company and save it. And that was long time ago. These were in the early days, and that's never happened again, and it never will.
I
But
mean,
that
that's definitely a position that no founder wants to be in, but it definitely shows great leadership, the way that you sacrificed yourself in order to put the team in first. That's really terrific.
we always say employee first, customer second, business
Yeah.
third.
That's what matters. You
Yeah.
know, it seems like you have great intuition, and you're someone that is, really kind of founded in that. And you're talking about how the industry kind of really needs to change and really needs to get in with technology. How do you see this bridge happening between, hospitality management and technology? And how do you see Cloudbeds as a player in that?
So we're definitely a known entity, and
Yeah.
one of the things. So there's a couple things I want to unpack from that
Mm.
question. So one, hospitality or the digitalization of adoption of technology. Hospitality is the worst out of any industry on the
Yeah.
planet. McKinsey just did a report. It came out about a month ago, and hospitality and leisure right there at the bottom. Like it's like 13% adoption or something silly like that.
Mm.
And it goes back to my comment about the door locks, right? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of funny how those numbers are very similar, and I don't remember the exact numbers, so don't hold me to them. But the point is, it's low.
Mm.
Travelers are going to dictate change, just
Yeah.
like, and so hotels are going to have to accommodate it.
Mm.
Cloudbeds is recognizing where we need to go. There's that famous Wayne Gretzky puck analogy where
Mm.
I skate to where the puck's going to be,
Yeah.
right? And the reality is, we sort of see some headwinds and tailwinds in the industry, and we're trying to triangulate them around some of the product that we're building, and trying to push our product architecture to be in line with what's coming. Okay. But the way we educate the industry that is very, very reluctant, they just kind of look like this and
Yeah.
straightforward to big change, is you have to do a lot of thought leadership and education. So fun fact, we control about 30% of all hotel tech search
Okay.
on the internet. Okay. So that comes to Cloudbeds.
Okay.
Every day, someone's searching for tech in travel. It's coming to us, like 30% of that. And that's because we have one of the biggest libraries of thought leadership,
Hmm.
blog articles on topics around lodging. And we really believe it's our responsibility as a
Wow.
partner to our hotels to educate them just as much as it is to build technology and deliver that service.
Fantastic.
In addition to that, we're now partnering with schools. We're giving our technology away, hospitality schools.
Yeah.
Take our software, train your people, not on the old technology, but on new
Yeah.
cutting edge technology, new ways. Maybe do it in parallel so they can see both sides.
Yeah.
But the industry needs to wake up. The big
Yeah.
brands need to get off legacy technology that's breaking their process.
Mhm.
All they care about is top line revenue. They don't care about the operators. And that's because the big brands are represented by franchisees. The franchisees pay to the mothership a fee every time a reservation is booked. Operational control is dictated by the hotel owner, not the Marriott brand. It has to fall in standards. But so there's a misalignment there
Yeah.
between the two players, and that has been going on for many, many
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
We also have a huge disconnect between top line revenue in a hotel and efficiency of operations. So
Mm.
while top line has been screaming success, except for a minor blip in COVID, it's been growing and growing. We call that RevPAR and ADR. Those two metrics are through the roof and continue to grow. But the actual gross operating profit per room has gone down, and it keeps
Okay.
getting lower. And so we've got this widening gap. And what that tells me is a couple things that are out of control of a
Mm.
hotel: rising labor costs, happening all
Yeah.
over the world.
Yeah.
And then the inputs to run business, utility, like the energy crisis going on in Europe because of a war, rising costs in the US for
Yeah.
mortgage rate, things like that. So all those inputs are becoming more expensive. The only thing that can really solve this is tech. And that's
Yeah.
where we're here. And
That's
that's why I
incredible.
think people are terrified by Chat GPT right now,
Yeah.
because they see it as removing hundreds of millions of jobs,
Yeah.
right? So at the end of the day, I think all we can do is educate,
Mm.
educate. We can build great technology that differentiates our hotels using our product from the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
And they see so much success when they turn on our software versus what they had before. It's just going to be a slow upward battle
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
keep creating missionaries who believe in what we're doing, and
Yeah.
eventually we will go and power every hotel in the world, and that's the long-term dream.
Yeah. I mean, of course, change is always uncomfortable. And people are always, especially with technology, people are always scared of the effects that it's going to have. And if it's going to take away, social interactions and those meaningful interactions, especially within the hospitality industry. But I think that there's a huge misjudgment of what it's actually going to do and how it's actually kind of going to bridge those connections and facilitate it, and make it easier. I would love to know kind of more about, you've built and sold multiple companies. I would love to learn more about your insight, and how, to be a successful entrepreneur, and, what you can tell so many people that, have great ideas, but how do you actually bring them to real life?
So Rich and I talk about this all the time. Build something of purpose.
Yeah.
Start there. And it can be small or it could be
Yeah.
Amazon-like, right? Purpose solves a problem and then gets people both on the consumer side as well as the actually running the business side, like the employee
Mm.
side, to have a equitable exchange that everyone is excited about. Okay. And when you find that purpose, it stops being work. It starts being fun. It starts being challenging, and you start to see some reward. And like, work is always hard, right? There's the good days, the bad days, like you said, in the entrepreneur journey. But that's part of the journey, right? If it was
Yeah.
easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yeah.
And if everyone could become Google, everyone would become
Yeah.
Google inside. But that's not going to happen. And so I could be a lifestyle business that pays myself enough salary to raise a family, to have a beautiful home,
Yeah.
do things that are enjoyable, interests, like, and be okay with that. Or I could go build a multi-generational, wealth creating, multi-billion-dollar business and things like that. And both of them are perfectly okay,
Yeah.
right? And so for me, in 10 years and having some success with Rich, it's always been more about the purpose and celebrating that, because those are the wins. Those are the things that we think about more. And those are the ones that really make you feel good.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like human nature, we sort of hold on to the negative longer than we hold
Yeah.
on to the good. I mean, I think breakups are
Yeah.
really hard at times, but yet, when you did a scratcher and you won $100 on a lotto, you're like, cool, yeah, and you go have a dinner, and then the next day you forget about it, right? So like,
Yeah.
it's funny how our brain is either half empty or half full, and depending
Mhm.
on how we train it. Starting a business is fun, it's challenging, it's exhausting. I had a full head of hair, so you better be ready to work harder than you've ever been. Like, it's not working easier. You'll
Yeah.
never work easier. And because it comes with more stress. It comes with,
Yeah. It's a lot of
am I going to be able to
sacrifice.
pay someone on time? Like, do I have
Yeah.
enough money? Like, and like, so like, all those things are not part of the job. It's part of the weight that you wear. And
Yeah.
so unless you're doing something that you truly believe does good, has
Mm.
purpose, then it's another job. And
Yeah.
I think you lose sight of what you're really there and what you're really creating. And I often look at my 4-year-old, who's learning to process and understand his
Mm.
emotions, and to build on confidence. you kind of knock them over quickly. These young kids, you knock them over, they immediately burst into
Yeah.
tears because they're not resilient. And the reality is, the things and the moments that I love the most are when I see him proud, right?
Yeah.
And it's because he accomplished something, and that's the journey, right? So
Yeah.
celebrate milestones early, often. Don't worry about the negatives, right? Because they're going to
Mm.
come and go. They're going to grow in complexity as you get bigger, the scale, the requirements, and then just find some people that you want to be on the journey with,
Yeah.
and hold on to them tight, and also know that they're going to come and go too, and it's
Yeah.
not personal.
That's
So
beautiful. Talking about purpose, something that's really important to you is travel and food, and you kind of see that as, how you understand the world. How does that play a role, and how kind of did you establish and influence that belief into Cloudbeds?
yeah, so I have been fortunate to be in a family that traveled a lot. Okay,
Hmm.
and as a family, my father traveled the world for work. I
Hmm.
tended to be his little like road buddy
Okay.
growing up. So anytime it worked that either I had break or ski weekend or so whatever, and he had
Oh,
to go
that's
somewhere,
not bad.
I would go with him. So I remember some of my fondest memories with him
Hmm.
were in some tropical place, or in a city, or at some hotel I had never stayed at. And those come with silly moments, and those come with scary moments,
Yeah.
and it also comes with different tastes, smells, textures. And so I really like, I'm not even going to say it, but Anthony Bourdain has this quote, and I'm going to botch it because I'm not even going to attempt to try to like say what it was, but he talks about like when you travel, you leave some and you take some
Yeah.
with you, right? And that comes for good, for bad, for ugly. And the reality is I felt that too. Like
Hmm.
I've had some of my favorite moments in travel were gritty,
Yeah.
scary,
Yeah.
but
I've
like
had.
I will never forget them, right? And some of my worst moments were like the posh, pampered, where I'm like, oh
Yeah, I
God, I'm in the
agree.
same box that I could be anywhere in the world, and this
I
isn't different,
agree.
right?
I agree.
So I love food. I love to cook. It's my therapy. I cook
Yeah.
every day. It's how I relax and unwind.
Mhm.
I've never lived in another part of the world. So for me, my love of travel stops at wanting to domicile outside of my comfort zone, which is
Yeah.
crazy because I love to travel so much. And I don't know why, and it's something I'm working through. And my wife and I have often talked about how fun it would be to
Yeah.
live somewhere else. But I've been to 61 countries, and
Wow.
that is, I keep hearing that's wow,
That
but
is wow.
I know a lot of people who are way higher than that.
Oh, you can't
And
compare yourself to others. That is a
oh,
big wow.
I know it's a big wow, but there's so many places that
There's
I've
so
never
many, yeah.
been. Like I've never been to Japan, I've never been to
Oh,
New
yeah.
Zealand. I've only been to Australia for less than 48 hours, right? So like for a business trip.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced some of the greatest places in the
Yeah.
world, and I need to keep going out there
Yeah.
and add some mileage. And that also means I'm hoping I get to recreate that with my son and daughter
Yeah.
and bring them to. And so I need to get them past the moment of I dread the idea of being on a 12-hour flight anywhere
Yeah.
with them. Um, and so we chuckle about that, but I can't wait to have little buddies travel with
No,
me too.
that's the best. I had a similar upbringing where I was, my family moved around a lot. And it's definitely something I've kind of, as an adult, have craved that, that fear of when you're getting to somewhere new and you have no idea what you're going to expect. And sometimes it's not the best experience of your life, but it definitely adds value to your life experience, and you have these great stories to laugh about and to tell. Even if it wasn't a great experience, I think even the bad experiences still hold a special place in my heart.
Absolutely.
And it helps, it puts everything into perspective. And it helps you, especially after COVID and like being able to get back out and traveling. It definitely made things seem a little bit less scary and seemed like, everything is going to be fine. But you know, I was kind of looking at your one company that you started with, Bark for Beer, which is very interesting. I mean, it had, I think, like 100 million visits in less than a month or something. You know, can you tell us, you know, how you turned a fun idea into an overnight sensation?
I wouldn't call it an overnight sensation, but it definitely had some miles for a little bit.
Yeah.
So my buddy and I were at a pool party with friends. Okay.
Okay.
And no one had a bottle opener. Southern Californians love our cerveza and limes. That's kind of
Yeah.
our go-to. We didn't have IPAs back then, just to age myself. But so we were trying to open some Coronas, and Poncho, which was John's dog, was like running around, and so we called Poncho and we took the like edge of her collar, and we popped off the bottle opener. And we looked at each other and were like, holy crap, why don't we just put a dog collar or a bottle opener on a dog collar? And like, that's got to be a gimmick that people would buy for Christmas. So we talked to a few friends. They're like, yeah, I probably would pay $20 for a dog collar. Like, I needed one anyway, and that's kind of clever. And we had in Reef Sandals had just put the bottle
Oh
opener on
yeah,
the
yeah, I
bottom
remember
of their
that.
sandals. Okay. And so like it kind of was just the right time. So we built it. Someone came up with the name Bark for Beer, and the taglines, oh man, I don't really remember, but it was like, you know, the party animal or something like that. But like it was so good. The branding was so good, like everything just worked. And I had just recently worked with so in my small town, we have this annual fireworks show that was canceled. And I'm like, wait, the city doesn't put this on. I just assumed the city put it on, because I remember growing up and watching the fireworks shoot off
Mhm.
the cove. And I was like, no, some private citizen was paying for it every year for the benefit
Wow.
of everyone else. And I was like, that's crazy. And so I raised $55,000 in 2 days
Wow.
with this like social media pledge, and got a bunch of donations and saved the fireworks. And so along that route, I met a bunch of the news anchors and the sort of reporters in town.
Mhm.
And I called one of them who became friends with me. And I said, hey, I've got this idea. It's called Bark for Beer. What do you say? And he's like, I love it. Like, I love it so much that I want to do like a full, like 15-minute slot on you, like a big
What?
slot on you. And like when they did the filming and we talked about it, and like John and I are just silly and we were young, they liked it so much. Like the head guys at this local station liked it so much, they sent it to national. So NBC here in San Diego syndicated it to nationally, which then was on like MSNBC. And so
Uh-huh.
like basically prime time 7 o'clock news, Bark for Beer was on the TV. And it led to for about 24 hours, every minute an order was coming into the website, to the point
Wow.
where we didn't have enough callers
Yeah, yeah.
to satisfy
The
that
demand
need.
was not meeting the
Yeah.
supply.
And anyway, long story short, we had to order more. They got stuck in customs. We almost missed Christmas deliveries. It was a complete nightmare. And all I can think about when people say Bark for Beer is the logistics commercial that FedEx occasionally runs, where it's like the problem of too many orders and how are we going to solve it. That was my life for like
Oh my
3 weeks. It was
God.
all hands on deck, packaging dog collars for 24 hours a day and shipping them. I mean, it was a nightmare, but it was a blast. Like we
I
had
mean,
so much fun.
that, yeah, I mean, it started from, you know, a silly, fun idea, just joking around, into something that was successful, and kind of
It paid
stressful,
the
but
bills. It paid the bills.
yeah, I mean, but what would you, I mean, what would you say that you learned from that experience, or would you say like the leadership about like lessons that you learned from it that you apply today?
Oh, nothing's easy. It's always
Yeah.
harder than you think. So like, so the success, like the success led to so many problems, right? And we were not prepared for those. And that was
Yeah.
good. That was okay. Like it was just all right. Like I kept being reminded, guys, we have 100,000 orders that we have to go solve for. Like, and I remember what the exact number, but it was large. And we were literally doing the math. We're like, okay, we need 12 of our friends to come sit in the room and just pack. And we had to go buy label machines because we couldn't manually print. We had to like actually like so we had to get custom bags. I mean, like everything backfired, but it was a lesson to realize that good leads to new challenges lead to new solutions. And at the end of the day, I think that's the journey. That's the entrepreneurial spirit. You just got to overcome them. And so like now I think planning a little bit is probably smart, and think about the angles a little bit more. But you know, there's also no better storyteller than the person who's behind it and passionate by it. And so like you need to be your own voice, and you got to get out there and sort of tell the world and keep telling the world. And you know, we were in pretty much every major publication you can think of.
Yeah.
Bark for Beer
I'm sure
really
that
became a
also
story.
helped, you know, gave you like a bit of a confidence boost as well, as like, oh, I can actually do this. Like I can actually, you know,
100%.
be a business owner. I can, you know, I can attract, like, I think a lot of people that, you know, want to be an entrepreneur, there's always this kind of fear of, well, is anyone actually going to care? Like, is anyone actually going to want to buy this or get this service? And that's definitely at a young age, getting that confidence boost must have, you know, had a great impact on you.
The coolest milestone out of all of that was knowing that we shipped a dog collar to every state in the continental US.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
That's a great story to tell your kids, to tell your grandkids.
I still have a few probably lying around. My dogs do not have one on their collars, but it was hilarious. And you know what made me really excited is recently one of my buddies sent me an article about someone who's doing the exact same thing we did now. So someone has a new dog
Everything
collar
comes back.
with a bottle opener built in. And you know, I emailed them and I just said, hey, good luck. We did this. This was our company called Bark for Beer. And they're like, that's so funny. And like, we never patented it. We didn't care enough. But anyway, too funny. But now Cloudbeds is on a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's definitely on a whole other level.
And it's even more fun. So
great, fantastic. You know, lastly, I want to circle back just to your travel experiences and how it's influenced Cloudbeds. You know, you say that you've traveled to over, 60 countries, and you're talking about wanting to go to Japan, and which is beautiful. But what would you say are your 3 like favorite places that you've been to?
I love Vietnam. It was an unbelievable experience. It was very gritty, meaning I had some very gritty moments there. Got really, really sick, but that led to one of my best lunches I've ever had in my entire life. And so that was unbelievable. I've had some great travel journeys with for the company. Like I've had some awesome experiences in Amsterdam, Edinburgh, 2 of my favorite European cities. My wife and I got lost in London, and we had awesome time. We did a baby moon in the Christmas markets in Austria and in Berlin, which was a blast. I'd never done that before. So, you know, these are like micro examples. Like Vancouver, my dad and I used to get lost in Chinatown and do dim sum in Vancouver. Every time we were up there. So I've been to Shanghai, I've been to Hong Kong. Like they're moments that are totally different experiences that were a blast. And I think what I always appreciate is I meet people when I'm there. Somehow, I'm an introvert. I am incredibly shy. I've learned to be able to be extroverted.
I understand that.
But it is not my strength, and I am the opposite of that. And I somehow realized in my journeys that meeting and interacting with new culture is the best thing in the world. And I was recently in Toronto, and I was commenting to the host who's for this meeting, and I was like, you know what I love about Toronto is the diversity of people. You walk down the street and there's just so many different walks of life, and it's awesome. And she's like, you know, that's the first time an American's ever appreciated that. And I'm like,
Really?
Like, why? And she's like,
I
oh,
feel like
I,
Americans are always so focused on diversity that,
you would think maybe it's just an act, but like I was like, I love this. Like I love the fact
yeah,
that you have every food cuisine you can think of.
yeah,
Like my mom and I were talking about, tapas, like a Spanish tapas. Like
yeah,
we don't
yeah.
have them in San Diego. I don't
No,
know
you
why.
don't. Even
And
if they do, I don't think they do them well, but
correct. And so like it's like, but there's so many amazing cuisines and influences, and yet that
yeah.
doesn't necessarily like transcend. I mean, I lost my cell phone in South Africa
Oh
when I was on
gosh,
a month-long trip.
that's
Month-long
a
trip. Okay.
nightmare.
Yeah, I had 2 weeks left to get a new cell phone was nearly impossible. So for 2 weeks, I had no cell phone during my Cloudbeds journey. And it was like the greatest 2 weeks I've had
Oh,
in
I
like
can
2 decades.
imagine.
Like I felt disconnected. The days were long. I
Yeah,
understood what was going around me. And so I pledged that if we ever had exit and I don't have to work again, like this thing is going in the trash. Like
yeah.
I don't
I
want it anymore.
I think it's I have my family goes to this beach house in the south of Chile, and it's completely remote from everything. There's no, there's no cell phones, there's no electricity. You really have to just be there with all your friends, and it makes you appreciate every day a lot more. You feel much more happy, much more connected. You start noticing the little things, which is what life should be about. You say you have two little kids, and you love to travel with them and kind of share these experiences with them. What are you most excited to show them about the world?
Oh man. Language,
Yeah,
the interaction of culture, the variety of cuisine. I think there's
yeah,
just something special about getting a hot croissant in Paris or a baguette in Paris with the butter. I know I can get all that here, but it's just something different, right? Or a
yeah,
pizza or a pasta in the south of Italy.
yeah,
You just It's something just slightly different, and it's because of the people and the passion and all that goes into
yeah,
making it, and the smell and the surrounding. And I think when you combine all those moments, it sets itself apart. And I for Ethan and Madeline, I think the goal is to put them in the good adventures, the bad adventures, to like
yeah.
shock their system a little bit, to get them out of the little bubble that they're used to. And I think that sort of bringing a little bit of uncomfortable to a day or a week or however long we're out there is probably good. And it also grounds you a little bit and it makes you appreciate the little things more.
Yeah, definitely. So is that the big dream is, besides Cloudbed and pushing it to its limits, it's also, the big dream is sharing your life's passions with your kids.
Oh, totally. And then let them also figure out their own passions
Yeah.
and support them
Yeah.
along the way. And that will be a blast. But no, we have a big journey still ahead with Cloudbeds, and so we gotta get back to work and keep working hard and trying to
Good.
move this thing forward. But this has been a blast. I
Wonderful.
appreciate you
Well,
having me
thank you
here.
so much. Thank you so much for talking with me. I'm so glad to have heard your story and got to know you a little bit better. And yeah, really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Bye, Adam. Have a good
Bye
rest
bye.
of your day. Bye.